I remember a while ago, my therapist at the time asked me, what do you enjoy? And I was so sad because I didn't know. Like every 6 weeks for me, if I haven't done anything specifically for me, I'm going to struggle. There is nothing that I've achieved in my life that has not been linked to someone who opened a door or who listened. Sometimes it's not so much as a door, it's to just fine-tune your ideas. This is what I'm thinking and so forth.
Please can you give us a background of who you are? I mean, I've got your bio, but I thought it's always better when someone tells their own, this is who I am, in their own way. So who are you?
Okay, thank you for having me. Thank you, Dhlomo. I'm honestly honored to be here and also to speak. It's been a beautiful morning. So can you hear me?
Yeah.
Is it good? Yeah. So yes, I'm Wendy Dhlomo. I was born and bred in Umbumbulu and grew up in Umlazi a little bit, but I think that those first 10 years of my life probably defined me. So I see myself as a farm girl, and I am a medical doctor. I've sort of worked in the medical field briefly, took a bit of a break, went into science, academia full-time, studied somewhere else and abroad, got qualifications, really en route to professorship, authored papers, and then had to make a shift in my life at a certain part of my life, and went into full-time private practice. I'm a gynecologist by profession, and now I'm in entrepreneurship. So I've sort of done a few things. Almost every decade of my life, I'm 45 now, has been. But everything that I've done, I've gracefully found a space for it. So I've got 5 different degrees, but maybe almost, but there's nothing I haven't used within that.
How incredible is that? Coming back to your journey into medicine, I mean, you mentioned the break. 7 years is a long break. And what prompted that? Because, I mean, you hear about people taking career breaks because they're shifting or career pivoting. So now when you are making that decision to pause because medicine isn't what we see on the reality shows, it's not pretty, it's not glamorous, it's not things that you thought they were going to be. How did you get to that point of making that decision and then fearlessly stepping into that decision, especially when the world is looking at you, be like, no, but you're ticking all the boxes, you're doing everything right. Like, why would you want to now completely shake up your life?
Yeah. So I qualified when I was 23, right? So I was a doctor. By the time I was 24, I was a doctor. I got married at 21. So I already had a family. I had my daughter at the time. She's 23 now. And those first 2 years were so hard in medicine. And, you do these very long calls. And within the first day, I was like, I didn't sign up for this. This is so hard. You're getting home the next day. And I remember, and when I was post-call, I wouldn't want anyone to disturb me. You're trying to sleep and catch up the next day. It's the same thing. So it's just looking at your life and asking yourself, is this really what I want to do? And I remember the one time my daughter came into the bedroom, I probably shouted at her, I'm sure, because I was just trying to sort of sleep. And she said to me, Mom, you're always tired. And that just broke my heart. And that was the honest truth, that I was always exhausted. And so that was one. This is by the second year of doing it. And I wondered if there is something else to medicine, to this field. And I'm still exploring. And so at that time, I actively looked for something different. And that's how I got into research. Interestingly, also, I'm a Christian, so I walk my journey with God hand by hand, and when I started looking at the time, we didn't have the internet. I was looking at newspapers, trying to see what is there, and I applied for something and resigned. And wherever I was taken. So I went into training for about a week. And I was listening and I'm thinking, this doesn't look like it's something I want to be in. So now I'm thinking, okay, I've just resigned here and I'm here in training. And I went back and I was like, actually, sorry, I made a mistake. I want to come back to work. And and I had to tell these ones that, sorry, I'm not going to be coming in. So it's just not being afraid. I guess our first speaker spoke about courage. To not be afraid to, one friend of mine always says, you're such a last born, anything and everything is possible, to actually do this. So I went back and believe you me, 2 weeks later, another opportunity came within science, and I took that, and that is basically what took me those 6 years. Went to Harvard, worked with people from all over the world, went into a different part of side of medicine that wasn't clinical, that was more in the public health field, more innovative stuff, more international, more global. So by the time I was 30, I had done all of that. But it's just not being afraid to actually say, this doesn't resonate with me. It's not that I have something lined up in the future, but this doesn't hit it. So I guess for me that I was lucky to and went back to work, and within a month I was in a new environment, and I wouldn't have gotten there if I hadn't said no to something that didn't align or didn't sit well with me.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's bravery on a whole new level. Everything that you've just spoken about, I mean, like it hits the career hit list, like in terms of, okay, we did, this was great, this was amazing, so we need to just mute that. What toll does it take? Because, I mean, I'm hearing what you were saying about your daughter at the time, and even when my daughter says something like that, like it just, there's a part of you, like it slowly dies, because you're thinking, oh, mommy guilt, it's a thing, it's a real thing, and you don't understand until you experience it and you actually hear it from your child. It's because we were trying to raise kids who are very articulate and say what they mean, right? What toll does it take apart from that? Because I'm sure there's certain things that you let go of, certain shifts that happen. I mean, you're saying that you said that you got married at 21. So that's also part of your life that I'm sure also at some point you have to make decisions. And how do you move forward? How do you take your partner with and make them understand as well? Because society expects you to be at home and cook and clean and be domesticated. But you've got your ambition, you've got your dreams, you've got your constant evolution. How did you navigate that, and how do you still navigate that? And how do you heal your heart when you have to let go?
Yeah. So, there's a lot you asked there.
And I've also got a plane to catch, but we want to share this. This is important.
Yeah, it's easier when I write down the points. But anyway, I'll speak on whatever I remember. So on being married young, I used to say that I don't want to look at my life at a certain time and say, I didn't get here and there because I was married to you. I don't want you to also say, I did not reach A, B, C, D because you were married to me. So I mean, I was married at 21. I was still at med school. I was in 4th year. So, and I still believe that there is nothing that I have not done in my life because I got married early or because I have so many children and so forth. So it's to still find a way around and not let go of the things that matter to you. So it's also looking at solutions, here to be like, okay, I'm committed to a solution. If this is the direction you want to go into, we'll find a way how we can support each other. So it's important to both grow and honor, honor your truth one way or the other. Yeah.
But now, when you're honoring that truth and society and the expectations that it has on women, how do you push back in a way that you don't mind when society looks at you sideways and be like, oh, but Wendy, because it happens, because people will be like, oh, how amazing. But did you hear? That happens. How do you still forge ahead? How do you own your choices?
Yeah.
Especially also because now you are raising your family, but you're career driven and you still want to pursue the things that you want to do in the way that, you are excited about and you are happy with it. But in the moments when the world is quiet and your thoughts are loud, how do you navigate that space?
So I've always had a full life. And I remember some of my friends would be like, so how do you do it? Because you're married and children. And, we are such adaptable people. Humans are adaptable. That's our superpower. So you find that when you think you have a lot of time, I'm sure when you have a long weekend coming, everything you're going to do in this long weekend, when it's done, you didn't even do one thing because you assumed that you had a lot of time. Your brain, you just basically relax because you have a lot of time. The same goes when you have quite a few things in your life. When you know that, I think the first speaker was saying that she has this much time, but yet she does so much. So even when I had children, obviously you've got to have family, even when I had so much, I've always been a present mother, and a present this, a present that. When someone else is busy partying and hanging out after campus, you don't have that time because you have to be doing A, B, C, D, and those are your goals. And you have to be honest with yourself and your truth, because to be honest, people will always have their own things that they will say. And I'm now divorced. The marriage lasted 20 years and it came to an end. So to now move from that life to now basically raising your family as a single person, I did struggle with that, but there's always help. But and you have to know who God says you are, and that's basically what I hold on to, and support system and things like that. Yeah.
It's amazing. But I think what I want to touch on now is also like the support system when it comes to moving from the space that in terms of academia and now being an entrepreneur, because that adds another dimension of your world. And a lot of people will say that when it comes to business, and you ask, we were chatting about it last night, there was a dress I was wearing and I was like, this is where you can find it. And one of the ladies said, no, but people don't do that, even on a day-to-day basis. Like, where'd you get your hairpiece? Where do you get your dress? Where'd you get a simple thing? Mm-hmm. And when it comes to also networking and starting a business, having an idea and how to express it and build on it, sharing that knowledge and saying there's a mentor, there's somebody in finance who can assist you, somebody in legal, or even I can assist you. How have you found that, like where you go to the spaces and you connect with the individuals who are willing to share? And, because also when it comes to mentorship, you've got a responsibility to show up having some knowledge base or done your research and knowing that you can actually step into that. How has that worked for you, stepping into the entrepreneurship space, to building your network of support and advisors and being able to do it successfully in your own way?
Yeah, so you touch on mentorship. It's so important. There is nothing that I've achieved in my life that has not been linked to someone who opened a door or who listened. Sometimes it's not so much as a door, it's to just fine tune your ideas. This is what I'm thinking and so forth. So I was lucky to have that early. Remember I was telling you about that career shift that I had. I was young at the time. I think I was 26, I think. And my mentor then, he would always come once a year and be like, what do you want to do this year? What is it that you want to do? And I'd be like, this is what I'm thinking of, and so forth. And then sometimes he had advice, sometimes he didn't. And he wasn't necessarily a mentor as in, we are starting a mentorship program. So even when it comes to business, or when it comes to the different shifts that I've done, there's always been someone who has spoken into my life. People, when the Bible says the truth will set you free, being able to see that, okay, you know, that authenticity, you know, when you see that, you know what, here this person has my best interest at heart. Of course, you're going to have people who are not going to be interested. You're going to have people who are going to say this or that to discourage you, but you've got to be able to shut out the noise and then focus. So yes, I find that people are able to assist. And sometimes, doesn't the Bible say we don't get because we don't ask, we don't, you know, and sometimes we don't believe. So, and if one door closes, another one will open. If someone else doesn't assist, someone else will assist. So I've been lucky in that way. Yeah.
Speaking of your practice, I mean, you are in the gynecological space, and the importance of asking and finding out the information and looking for the information. We struggle, by we, I mean Black women predominantly, and to even ask the awkward questions when it comes to, you know, down there. But it's important because of the rise of certain cancers that affect us. What has been a challenge / opportunity for you in your practice to encourage women to understand their bodies and to also break down that, you know, mental block of having open and honest conversations about what we go through as women? Because a lot of the time, I mean, our first experiences going to a gynae for an exam is the most awkward experience ever. And even at my big age, it's still awkward. But I know once a year I need to go. Having my daughter I was like, this is great, but why do you need to go? It's just uncomfortable. But it has to happen. So how have you approached it? And what have you seen as some of the things that you need to push past and get and encourage women to push past mentally as well, because it's a new generation of women who are coming up. We're raising daughters. And in some instances, you have to have a conversation with boys as well about sexual health, about respect, about boundaries. And it just goes into whole new spaces. But how have you done it for our age group, also our mothers and aunts, but also a younger generation that's coming up now?
Yeah, sure. So when it comes to health in general, you know, there's a definition that I like that the WHO has, where they say that health is not just the absence of disease or infirmity, but it is a state of, I'm trying to remember it well, it's a state of social, psychological, and physical well-being. So that is what I see health as. It's not that pap smear only or that breast examination. It's your entire social, psychological, and physical well-being. So you'll find that one thing that I enjoy having one-on-one with women is that most patients would come up and say, oh gosh, I feel like I've just had a conversation with my sister. And I love. So it's having a space where, yes, we'll look at your physical side of things, but where somebody feels that they are heard, that they are seen, and also we tend to also see a lot of patients who come in with physical symptoms, yet the problem is actually more psychological. You know, it happens a lot, especially in gynae, and you can't pinpoint what is wrong. They just have pain and ulcers and all of those things. And then when you scratch below the surface, you realize that things are a little bit more deeper. So I like a more holistic approach. And I still feel that much as what I do, it's absolutely exciting, delivering babies, all the things that we do. But I still feel that there are other aspects of health that are underrated, especially the mental health. Because you cannot do anything if you're not okay, you know, in terms of your mind. And the physical is the easiest, you know, because it's easy. But all the other aspects of your life that carry who you should be have also got to be in check. So that's how I look at health for us, our generation, and above and beyond.
And how many patients, I mean, also like when it comes to mental health, like I understand what you mean about the holistic aspects of things. How do you then nudge them or be like, look, physically you're fine or as fine as you can be. But then because also mental health is a very taboo, topic still, which it shouldn't be. But how do you then encourage someone to be like, no, actually, like physically you're okay. It's just we now need to deal with your heart and your mind. And if you see that the patient is very like, no, we don't go there. Because there are times I've gone to the doctor, like literally to the GP, and she'll be like, I can write you something, but I think physically, like, you're fine. It's just like, what is stressing you? And I'll be like, what do you mean what's stressing me? I'm fine. And she's like, no, your physical self, like she'll do my blood pressure and everything, and then there'll be moments when I'm like, oh, okay, I need to pause and think about this. And then we'll talk. And she's like, I'm not going to write you anything, but let's see what we can do. And how open are women especially to having someone say to them, but what's happening with your mind and your heart?
Yeah. So I think people will gravitate to authenticity or genuine care. So sometimes I may share and be like, I see a therapist to make sure that my life is intact. And then when you remove the shame from such, and then people then realize that, oh, okay, so it's possible to not have everything in check. Yes. And another example that I often speak about, which honestly, if I have a headache and it's easy for me to understand that, okay, it's a headache. No one says chop the head off or there's a brain tumor or whatever. Somehow we don't have an issue with understanding that a headache doesn't mean there's something physically big, organic growing in your head. It could just be a headache. You take a painkiller, it goes away. You relax a little bit, it goes away. So even with the physical things, because someone will be coming with just pain that's just not going away, and I'll tell them that I'm going to look for something physical. If I can't find it, it might be that, yes, it isn't there. And that's good, because it could just be that your body is telling you that A, B, C, D. And then I do work with psychologists as well. And then, and then I refer them. So it just depends how you frame it. But there are psychosomatic sort of manifestations of things that have nothing to do with the physical well-being, and it's because of that. And and we're all struggling, to be honest, one way or the other. So if you demystify it, it becomes easier from a place of love, of course.
That's very important. And I mean, I love what you're saying in terms of therapy. I'm an advocate for therapy. I have a therapist. If you need referrals, I'll give you, no matter where you are. But it's the importance of it, because also you're acknowledging that you've got so many things happening in your world, but you will have times when you need to also check on you. And as an entrepreneur, as a mother, as all the different hats that you're wearing, how do you best show up for yourself and ensure that if you need to pause or you need to unplug, especially in the world that we live in, because it's like constant goes, you're running constantly. How do you ensure that you have those times where you take a break and you do really, the solid work that you need to ensure that you are okay?
Whew, I do take breaks. I really do. So firstly, it's to let go of control. I think that is one of the hardest.
It's hard.
No, you have to. So the world doesn't fall apart just because you didn't physically do something.
Are you sure?
It does not. So I think sometimes we put a lot of pressure on ourselves, and you find that you just want to be everything to everyone all the time, and that's one to just get over yourself. You are not that indispensable, like honestly, because sometimes we think, oh, I'm such an A type or whatever. No, you have control issues. Nothing happens if you're not there. So you have to learn. That's been hard for me to learn, to let go of control. It's okay for someone to assist me with picking up my children in the afternoon. I will take them to school, but someone else must pick them up and do all the running around that I could, so that I can be there. So it's that one. And to schedule time for you and to be honest with yourself. I remember a while ago, my therapist at the time asked me, what do you enjoy? And I was so sad because I didn't know. I really had no idea. What is it that I truly, truly enjoy? Because I was so focused in doing this and doing that, especially for the children. And so I had to take a step back and try and learn what is it that I enjoy, what is my routine. I now sort of have an idea how, like every 6 weeks for me, if I haven't done anything specifically for me, I'm going to struggle. So now for me, I've come to that point where every 6 weeks I have to take a break. And you've got to do it. Well, I've found that you've got to do it within the means that you have. If all I can afford is to go and walk in Umhlanga, in the wherever, and whatever the case may be, have coffee and ice cream and stay overnight and so forth, and maybe one massage, that's what I can afford. If I can afford to go and splash on a holiday abroad, great, then that's what I will do. If I don't have an entire weekend, I do have a Friday afternoon. So I take those regular small low breaks just to sort of recharge and reset. And I definitely am deliberate about my weekends. My weekends are honestly for resetting, readjusting, and recharging. It will be a hike with a friend. It will be whatever it is. I have to, because I give so much out of me in the many hats that I wear, and so I have to always be pouring back in. And then some days I feel defeated, but you have to take a break. You have to.
I love that. Thank you. I'm going to open it up to the floor. We are going to take 2 questions, please. Wow. We'll take 2 questions before we close off.
Hi, my name is Dhlomo, so Erasmus. And my question is, how do you maintain discipline in all that you do despite the exhaustion? And how do you learn to say no to some of the stuff?
Yeah, discipline, yeah. Whew. How do you maintain discipline and how do you say no? Discipline is a hard one. So discipline is, I break it down to just trying to constantly, let's say, for instance, I'll make an example. It's not perfection, it's consistency. That's how I look at discipline. It's not to be perfect in what you're trying to do, but to not let it go. As I read somewhere that if you stop doing something for 2 days in a row, it's hard to get back to it. So even if you say I've got a certain project, and most times it's easy to do the stuff that excites us, and then there are things that just don't excite us. So when you are struggling, just tell yourself that I'll do 10 minutes or 1 hour of this, but make sure that you don't break more than 2. It's like reading the Bible or going to all the things that are not so fun. Make sure that you do not lose 2 days without doing that which you wanted to do. And you find that all you had was 10 minutes, and before you know it, you actually did it for one hour or more. But more than anything, you don't lose connection with whatever it is you're trying to. So that's how I look at discipline. Try not do whatever you're supposed to do for 2 days. Because after that, you will find that you will come back to it 2 months later or 6 months later. The saying no, really, sometimes it's an age thing. The older we get, there's less filters. We're more true to ourselves. It's easier to say no. When you're younger, it's a bit harder. But be intentional. Always ask yourself if this aligns with where I want to go, and be comfortable to not be, no one's going to always love you. You're not money. We all love money, but I'm not money. Not everyone is going to like you. So you have to be comfortable with that and not people please too much. Yeah.
Does that help? Our second question.
Hi. My name is Kosizwane. Thank you for sharing your beautiful story with us. I think my question to you as a woman of influence is you spoke about people opening doors and opportunities for you to get you where you are today. What intentions have you put in place to help the next person? It doesn't have to be something major, but maybe perhaps share some of the stories or some of the engagements that you've partaked in that have shaken or shifted an individual or people. It doesn't matter what it is, but I will be curious to know what it would be, purely because I think when we speak about pulling each other up, you know, it comes very fluently. I want to pull you up. But what are the proactive actions is what tends to, perhaps not for us to share more stories about, or that's what's lacks. So therefore it's then left as just a broad thing that people just mentioned, but without fairly articulating what is it exactly have you done. I would like to hear, and I think everybody else in this room would like to, maybe perhaps for you to share one or two things that you've done proactively for, especially young women, you know, in that space. Thanks.
Okay, there's a few I can share. I'll pick one or two. So some it's in interactions, really genuinely being interested in listening to what somebody wants to say, and it could be connecting people. That's one. That's easy, right? That we've done quite a lot. One practical one. I think I probably have a few people that I've funded to go through school and that have finished their degrees. One of them was my receptionist that when I joined the practice and I sat and I looked at them, because I really believe that we've got to be progressive in all that we do. That's our mandate as children of God, to multiply. So I sat with them and I looked at them and I was like, what is it that you want to do? I understand you work here, but what is it? What is it that you've always wanted to do? And she said she's not sure. And then anyway, the other one was a bit older, looking at their CVs. I said, okay, you can't go back to school. Well, she couldn't go back to school, but at least a certificate here and this and that and that. So that was her journey. And this particular one said, I've always wanted to become a teacher. I said, okay, perfect. Then that's fine. Let's look for a teaching college. Give me 4 years of your life. I will pay for your school fees as long as you make sure that you are here and I understand that you will live. And it was quite a bit of a risky move, I guess, for me, because it's somebody who holds my entire life. But I explained to her that for every step that I've been, I've had to leave somewhere else to be where I am. So I knew that she will live. And she's still loyal to me. She works part-time for me. She's got a degree. She's the first one in her family. You know, the colored people don't like going to school. So that's one example, you know, and we would check in once a year, maybe, how is it going and so forth. And then, so that's basically the only story. I think another one would probably be 15 years ago. I think I was in HIV care at the time, and one of the counselors, she was so brilliant, she didn't have matric, and I was saying to her, look, you can't do anything without matric. So she stayed with me a little bit, and I would sit with her, and she got her matric, and she enrolled into I think social work. I think the other one, I think somebody else reminded me that I actually gave her money to start a business. It's a nurse. I'd forgotten 2 years ago. And she said, remember? And I was like, I do not remember. She's like, you actually did. You know, we spoke about this and you started. So those are some of the few. Can't remember. I think there's something else. I think someone else who, yes, I think one last one. I think I'll tell you. When I was starting my practice and there were issues with stealing and everything, so I brought somebody else who from church, and I visited that one church once, and when I got there, I saw her. I had known this young girl since she was young, and as we're talking, I'm like, you know, I'm actually looking for a secretary and so forth. She says, no, I'm done with school. I was doing this course and now I'm looking for a job, but you know, job opportunities are not there. I wanted to be in accounting, so I'm just going to do teaching. And I was like, no, you don't do that. You don't move from what you want to be just because the opportunity is not there. Come, you work for me. I'll help you get to the, I don't know, what is it, NQ, whatever it is, from tech to degree. I'll pay for it. you work for me, and then when you are done, you have to continue with what you wanted to be an accountant. You should be an accountant. She works in Centon now. And she reminded me, she sent me a long voice note, and I'd forgotten. She's like, had you not come to church the day? And we had that conversation. And so I truly am because of the people who've helped me. And yes, she moved. She gave me 2 years of her life in the practice. And I know who my source is. It's God. So I don't hold on to people and be like, suppress them so that they can stay here, and God has opened doors. I now have a much more expanded team of people that I work with, and I'm still committed to their well-being and advancement. I don't hold them because they are not my source. God is my source. So I have done a few things, and I hope to do more.
That is so beautiful. Thank you so much. I know Doctor's got I know there's a question. You know what? Because you put your hand up because there's a question, I'm not going to take the question, but no question. You changed your mind? A comment. Okay, hold on to that comment, please. And I'm going to give you a gift for that. And then afterwards you can chat to the doctor. But I know that you've got a giveaway.
I do?
Yes, you do. Okay, well, this is awkward.
No, I'm kidding, I do.
So I don't know how you want to do it. I don't know if it's a case of like a raffle, fastest fingers first. I don't know, is there someone who's caught your eye for a reason?
Ew. Anyway. I'm not that creative, but I think I will offer a consultation, let me put it that way, whether it's medical, whether it's whatever. I'm not sure how to then offer that demo. Should I ask? No, I'm not going to ask a question. Yeah, maybe you can ask a question.
I'm going to ask a question.
Or you can let the lady have her comment, and then for that's a gift.
Yeah. Perfect. Yes, done.
And she can always pass it on, by the way. It is transferable.
Okay. Oh, thanks. It's transferable. Oh, thank you so much, guys. In fact, like I'm saying, it's not a question, it's a comment. Wherein Doc, you mentioned the issue of mental health. And it is so amazing and encouraging to hear a doctor, because what we see these days, it is a fact. Most doctors, most professions, we're after money. So for the doc to mention that after having treated the physiological and whatever, you sit down and you talk about the mental health because of what you are observing. For me, it's a big up. I just hope that a lot of Dr. Dhlomo's multiply out there, because you find that doctors will say, come again, and they'll just keep on giving medication, whilst knowing very well what it's doing. So that is just my comment to say, wow, it's such a big motivation and encouragement and exciting that there is a doctor, or there are doctors out there who will sit down and talk mental health. By the way, it's been Mental Health Month, So as we're closing off, it's really exciting. Doc, may you multiply.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Dr. Wendy, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hope you enjoyed this episode. To stay updated with new episodes and blog posts, do subscribe to this YouTube channel or our webpage, unashamedlyher.co.za.